Happy holidays, everybody. Welcome to Resin Crafting with Chris Collected. On today's episode, we're going to continue the holiday madness and use some Desert Rain high-performance epoxy resin to make all kinds of cute little things. We're going to be filling it up to the 400 mark. This is a 1-to-1 resin, so we're going to fill up the one part to 200 and the next part to 400. This is the hardener. Because it's very cold in my house, I have actually had to put this in a warm bath, so you can see the label starting to peel off, but that's okay, it still works perfectly. In fact, it works even better because it's warm. I happen to really love this new container. As you can see, it has a grid on the whole thing, making it very strong, but also those horizontal bars are at 200, 400, 600, and so it's perfect. I just kind of can see it really easily. Alright, now let's stir this thing up. I'm still using the Let's Resin epoxy mixer. Let's go ahead and speed this up. Today's video will be a little bit different. As you can see on the left, the camera quality, I believe, is a little bit better. I apparently was not recording in full 4K for my front camera. Unfortunately, the front camera, I just learned while making this video, has a max of 5 minutes of continuous recording in 4K. So unfortunately, you're going to see a few cut-ins and cut-outs of the second camera. But no, in the future, I'm going to keep trying to get a better camera and get something that can do a little more than 5 minutes, or maybe set up a timer or something. But yeah, see, we kind of lose this first camera right here now. And it'll come back eventually. When I realize, I look up and there's supposed to be a little red recording thing, and it says standby, and I'm like, standby? I'm like, but it's been recorded, and I'm like, oh no. And so eventually we get into it, but for now, it's still a little messy. Well, that's alright, it still works for this video, no problem. Okay, so what we're going to be using today is Goofy Grape, along with some other colors. But that's the first one we're using, this Goofy Grape. It's the darkest grape that I have. I wanted a really dark purple for this one, along with some Christmas colors, but, I love purple, so I haven't used this Goofy Grape yet, and I was like, oh, this is going to look really good. And then we have some little bits. I got this recently. If you look at my unboxing life video, this was in a bunch of different purple glitter pieces that I had got. And I'm going to go ahead and put those into 2 small pots. That way we can kind of have some glitter and everything, but at the same time have some different colors too. This is a little collection of all kinds of little glitters. We're going to be using the purple and the red. These are very shallow containers. This was basically just like a trial. It came with a kit of other epoxy resin things that I got offline. So I figured I'd just kind of use it up as much as I want, because this stuff is all going to be sinking glitter. It's not going to be the nicer, higher end floating glitter. But yeah, I thought it had nice basic colors though. Really dark reds, really dark purples. And ultimately just having a little bit of fun with it. It is Christmas time. There was no real agenda here. I have those gnomes so that I could make some gifts for my grandmother and other people in my family, but ultimately I was just having fun. Next up, that's the chameleon powder. And then we also have copper. A lot of really fun colors. I have all kinds of, I've gotten really into the last couple of videos, if you haven't noticed, is making a lot of small pots of things. I've been watching a lot of other people, and that's something common they do, and I'm like, okay, let me do that too. And it's fun, that way you get more color options. And as you can see, I'm going to leave that big one, I'm going to leave it clear. I think from now on, that's always going to be my strategy, is have the big guy, have him as backup, always be clear, and at the end, I can always pour clear out if I want, and throw glitter in it or throw whatever I want. It's still obviously 100% usable. But that way I can get the exact colors I need. I don't have to go, oh no, I made too much purple or made too much this. You know, much easier. A little patience and planning goes a long way in crafting. All right, now back to just the one camera. Okay, so we're gonna stir up all the little colors now and get them all ready. First up is this cool little purple. Like you can see with that glitter and everything in it, it looks great. Next up, we got the other purple, red, and mix. We got this kind of little mix one. That's looking awesome too. It's like almost clear, but still has so much glitter and bits into it, so that looks great. Now for this dark red one. Looking wonderful. Probably the most Christmassy of anything in the video is this dark red. I mean, it's perfectly that kind of Christmas red. Really dark, like I forget what that bush is called. Azaleas or something like that. It looks exactly like that. And then, of course, gold. This kind of chameleon gold is so good looking. But I think everyone at this point knows these chameleon powders, they're the best. All right, now back to 2 cameras. Let's pop all the little bubbles, and let's get to pouring. These ones are a little tough to pour, just because they have such a high raise to all of the indents in it, so you can get a lot of air bubbles. So make sure to go a little slower, and you get it right. On this one, I ended up doing really good. I think partially because of this problem where I was using these really small pots and I hadn't actually done it before. And so I had no idea how much it would actually fit. Like I figured, oh, this one little thing will do this little resin, no problem. But in fact, I have to fill it up twice, for a total of 3 times, because it was filled up once, I pour it out, then fill it up again, then pour it out, and do it again. And I just kept going like, oh, okay, well, I guess I just need a little bit more. And then there was still glitter and stuff in it, so I was like, oh, well, every time I pour it out, more glitter comes out. And the color of that goofy grape is so dark that when I added more clear to it, it kind of ended up being a lighter purple, but at the same time, it is so dark still. So it ends up being the perfect color. I was really happy with how these turned out. All right, next up, let's do a red one. This one's in the bigger one, so I didn't need extras. Man, that camera on the left really does have way better quality. I didn't realize it wasn't in 4K until I was editing the video last time, and I was like, oh no, now they look way better. Okay, now that these gnomes are finished, I can make a little piece for myself. That's right. I mean, you know, something you got to learn about me is I make a few pieces for everyone else, but there's always going to be one little piece for me. And I love Pokemon. I grew up with it. And so this is Eevee. This is basically like a little dog Pokemon that can change into all kinds of other little Pokemon. So a lightning version or, you know, just every single element version. But this is the baseline version. And it typically comes in like a golden color. And so that's why I have this golden color ready. And I have more Pokemon molds on the way, so we'll actually have a whole Pokemon month next year. Alright, this one died mid-pour, unfortunately, but that's okay. It still looks great. Anytime we start with these new molds, as you can see, I'm very cautious about it, because I wanted it to have a little bit of that doming on the back, but not go over. So it's always a little bit of a trick there, especially with new ones. and so many tiny points, his ears, its little feet, its little tail. So I kept being very slow with this one and trying to get it to fill in and then level and then fill in, then level, and then keep going. But now it's done. And probably my favorite piece until we get to some other pieces, but some of my best pieces for sure. Okay, now that one's done. Of course, I notice that the camera's off, and so I turn it back on. Next up, we have these 3 little crosses. I was asked by a Patreon member of mine to do some crosses in rugs and in resin, and I took that very seriously, and I bought some crosses, and so now I have some rug crosses available, and I don't sell resin, but you'll be able to see some crosses that I make. I do sell a rug. So make sure to check out hovirugs.com or go to hovirugs on Instagram or Patreon. And you too can get yourself a little rug custom made. This actually came in a 10-pack. You can check out the unboxing live video of it. And so I just did 3 of them this time. Just kind of use up the rest of that red, you know? And I figured red crosses are just, they looked really good, and they turned out amazing. Okay, next up, this is a little 6-pack of ornaments, and each one says a different saying on it. In fact, there is 12 of them in total, but we're only going to do 6 of them today. So kind of the same problem I had with the gnomes. These little pots I'm not used to, and so they cannot fill a full mold. I think in the future I might stick with that medium-sized one and get a few more of those instead of these really small ones, and only leave these small ones for massive amounts of glitter and just that. So if I want a pop of glitter, then I can shove it into here. Otherwise, I think I'm going to use those medium pots. Because it actually can fill a mold, whereas, you know, I don't really want to be doing this 2 or 3 times. Alright, we have enough of this gold, so we're going to go ahead and put it in 2 different ornaments. If you'd like to see a full demolding video, from now on I'll be putting those up on my Patreon. And camera 3 for this one will be put out as a separate video, because this was already 20 minutes long, roughly. So I was like, you know what, let's just go ahead and put the view it from another angle. We'll just put that as a separate video. Okay, so I had a tiny bit of that red left, and I just decided to to plop it in there. I realized while editing, I probably should have put that in the back instead of in the front, because now it's just blocking stuff. And that's the kind of stuff we're going to try to improve on and make sure we have crystal clear clarity, but also really good, and it works really well. It can be seen by everyone, you know. I'm really excited about it. It's getting better and better. Okay, let's get some more of this color all mixed up. As you can see, the scrap of the other 2, I just kind of poured into that one. And so now we have this little bit thinner one, and we're going to pour in the rest. I figured gold and kind of a light gold is like perfect for Christmas. And now we're going to pour the rest of this in here. And then give it a good little mix. That way we have one that's a little bit different color. Now we're going to swirl it all together to make a unique little color. Okay, finally for this video, we have one more little piece that's not really Christmas themed, but is going to be a Christmas present. And so this is where that copper comes in. If you're not familiar, that is a rug that I make called the Akatsi Red Cloud rug. Also, it's just, you know, famous in the television show Naruto, and it's the bad guy symbol. It's usually a red cloud, or it could be a white cloud sometimes. But yeah, it's awesome. I love it. It's like a little tray to hold extra, you know, keys in or your change in. And so I got it for my brother, and I was like, I thought he's gonna love it, you know? And it looks great, so dark. Like most of the colors I chose today were really dark colors, and then it slightly got lighter over time, and I was like, that's worked out perfectly. All right, so I'll pop those little bubbles and get to pouring. And disaster. And disaster. So I realized, way too late, that this mold is mostly actually empty space. Because it is a tray, and it's like an inch thick tray, well, there's not a lot actually to it. And so in my brain, I thought, oh man, I'm gonna need 2-3 ounces for this. No, you really don't. This is actually a extremely minimal mold, because you only have the side walls and the bottom. Everything else is empty space. And my brain just did not process that. And so here is a couple minutes of me just trying, you know, first time using this mold. That's the beauty of art is, you know, you're not gonna be perfect on the first try. You just keep going, you know? And ultimately the piece ended up being great. There were no bubbles in it because, as you can see here, I'm going through the entire piece. And so there ended up being no bubbles in it. And it ended up working out really well, but I definitely wasted resin, which is, you know, always not what you want, but hey, that's okay. Remember, trust in yourself, honor yourself and others, and create a world that is safer for everyone, even when you make mistakes.
Oh no.
It's okay. Make sure to stick around for the photos, and if you want to see more, you can go to my Patreon. Thank you so much. Merry Christmas.